Guys, thanks for jumping on. As I was talking to my players earlier, there's not many opportunities we'll get to talk with professional players that have played at such a high level, and when they turn out to be amazing people, that's even more important to get on a call with them. So I can't thank Roy enough for offering to come on, and I can't thank Glove Glue enough for helping set this up. So who we have on the call here today, guys, is Paul. He's on my upper left-hand corner, but you can see him in the corner there. He's the founder and CEO of Glove Glue. Chris Black, as you can see with the Glove Glue on his background, he is owner of Glove Glue USA. And the man of the hour, Roy Carroll, he is the one and only Roy Carroll. So what I thought I'd do is first thank you guys for coming on, give you a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to keep you unmuted or keep you muted. And if you want to say something at some point during the Q&A piece, go down to I think there's a reactions or an emotions. You can give a thumbs up. That's easier for me to see than that little hand. So give me that little thumbs up. Does everybody know where that is? You guys can find that? If you don't, you can raise your hand. But give me that thumbs up. That's a little bit easier for us to find it. I'll do my best to get everything managed correctly. And then the last piece is we have a varied audience today. So we have young goalkeepers. I think 8, 9 years old is the youngest. We have goalkeepers that are now full-time, 12, 13, 14, 15. We have some high school players in there. We have some collegiate goalkeepers. We have some collegiate coaches on. We have some youth club coaches on. So we have a varied audience. So I'm going to do my best to make to help the conversation flow, that everyone can feel like it's a conversation for them. So we'll see how that goes. But I'd like now to turn it over to Paul and Chris to do a proper introduction for Roy Carroll.
Well, hey, I'll kick off. Hey, so thank you all very much for joining. I think we've got about 64 participants as far as I can see at the moment, so that's amazing. I don't know whether we have everybody from the US, or do we have anybody from outside the US? Any hands, any thumbs, anybody waving from outside the US? I know we kind of put a little bit out on some of our social media to some of the other channels, but welcome everybody. We obviously it's a massive thank you to Roy Carroll. So Roy is and obviously Roy's been involved from a playing perspective for very much. Thank you all for joining us. Chris, I don't know if you want to add a few words, but guys, enjoy.
Thanks, Paul. Let me unmute Chris real quick. Give me 1 second here.
Hey, there it is. Sorry. I muted myself to cough, and it all went downhill from there. Yeah, we caught most of what Paul was saying. He has that broken American accent that's very difficult to figure out on my side of the pond. But again, thank you for Tom hosting us, putting this together. Phenomenal to have this many numbers out here, and of course to Roy. And I'm trying to get my chat going here, but I don't know if that's open for everybody or not. But
let me try to work on that.
Yeah, because that way, if you got something too that I can address and take it off someone else's plate, I'm happy to do that. So
okay, sounds good.
You good for me to get into it with Roy, or do you want to wait a little bit?
I think we're good. Okay. We had about 75 registered, so 66 jumping on. I'll do my best to try to let them in as they come in, but I think
excellent.
I think now's a good time.
Okay, all right, great. So as both Tom and Paul said, so I run the Glove Glue business for North America, and I'll get into how we met Tom, but the quick of how we got here I think is important. So I do have a goalkeeping background, mostly that I was just good enough to be the backup goalkeeper most of the time because I own gloves. But I'm actually regional staff, U.S. soccer staff for goalkeeping and for coaching education. So I am on the soccer side as well. And that probably puts me somewhere in the middle range of probably ability to stop a ball in this group, with Roy at the top, maybe Tom, and then Paul at the bottom. But wanted to give you an idea. This is important for, I think, all kids. It's not, I've learned very, very easily in my life, it's not what you know, it's who you know and how you treat people. I first met Tom Paparunas years ago via a friend named Joe Wagner when I was national sales manager for Olsport. Joe Wagner's one of my ambassadors. He hooked me up with Tom, being a good guy, good trainer. He was just ending his playing career at that point, I think. And we started doing some stuff with Olsport. When I was leaving Olsport at that point, a guy named Martin Esslinger, their international sales manager, liked what I was doing over here. Just wasn't working out with Olsport at the time. He got me in contact with Paul Sherritt, and we bonded over cheesesteaks in Philadelphia, which is a great way to do it. And I took over North America Glove Glue. And then Paul Sherritt introduces me to Roy Carroll when I think it was a year ago we started the process trying to bring him into the country. I was like, no, it's not going to happen. I didn't really realize Paul really was friends with Roy. You know, he wasn't just slinging gloves over to Roy and Roy's taking them. But he was legitimately friends with Roy. And then I even told my brother last year that that's not going to happen. But in the end, next thing we know, 1 year Paul's staying at my parents' house. We have a meeting at the Global HQ. Then a year later, Paul and Roy are hanging out at my parents' house for a couple of days. And then we do an event. We do an event together. And then Roy and Paul first meet Tom down in Tom's hometown of Baltimore, Maryland. And then you've got 4 people with very similar ways of liking to treat people very well as also 4 people that have a vested interest into glove glue because of taking care of people's equipment. And also watching Roy and Tom, and then getting to be with Roy afterwards, talking about how he agrees so much with Tom's way of training, and his personality for the youth was spot on. It's great too, because I would have been crushed if I brought Tom in and then we find out that Roy's like, oh, I don't like that guy, or whatever the case. That would have been crushing to me. And they also have so I think also they have opportunities in the future. We'll be bringing these guys together again. So that being said, now on to, like we said, the man of the hour, to Roy Carroll, who was so great for giving us this time today. It's what, 6:30, pushing 7 over there in Northern Ireland right now. So Tom, if you want to unmute Roy,
Yep.
we can bring him in. Apologize, I'll be drinking a little bit of coffee as we go.
There we go. There you
That's
go.
me
Roy.
on.
There, now Roy's on. Yeah. Do you want to say anything before we start, or get into it? Your call, Roy.
Chris, you've said everything there, mate. There's nothing I can say, but all I'm going to say, it's just nice to be on to speak to these young keepers and college keepers as well. And it's great to see Tom again. It's been a long time since I've seen him. One of the top guys I've met when I was in Baltimore. He's got the same attitude as me. It's all about the keepers. We're coaches, but we want to work these young keepers and senior keepers as well, Chris. That's what it's all about. We can't forget, as coaches, we need to think about the keepers. And I think Tom's like that. He's the same as me. We want to work keepers and we want them to push them as far as we can in their career.
Yep. No, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And I think I got to know Roy very quickly. And I will say too, I did forget to tell you, Amelia, Joshua, and Emmeline all say hi because they knew you were going to be on the call today. My kids were absolutely crushed that they're not allowed to be here. Not me, Mom, but because they wanted to see you and Paul. So you made an impression there as well. So we'll kind of get into it a little bit here. So everyone gets an idea. Roy's he's a very young man still. He should probably be playing because he's my age at 43, and so we're very young. But it was quite funny. The amount of people that saw him train when we did camps here, and also some people over there going, that guy could still play. Like, yeah, that's a professional goalkeeper. So that was fun to watch. So we're going to get into, you're 43 years old now, right? Am I correct?
No, 42 still, Chris.
42, sorry,
Close.
you are. You're a lot younger
nearly
than me.
43. Nearly 43.
So a storied career, an amazing career for those that know, and started looking at it and stalking you on Wikipedia once they knew about this call. Bring me out of Northern Ireland. So you came out of you're in Northern Ireland. What was your progress we'll kind of go the broad view and the highlights, and then Tom will deep dive later. You're in Northern Ireland, obviously different than the United States in a lot of ways. Developing was this 25 years ago. How are you found? What was that first process, the first step that you took?
The biggest problem for me as a goalkeeper in Northern Ireland was getting the opportunity to prove myself. So I was playing for a team in the countryside. I'm from the countryside, about an hour and a half from Belfast. And I moved to a men's team when I was 16 years old. I got the opportunity to play in Belfast, and there was a scout came up to me after a game. We lost the game 5-1, Chris. It's amazing. I was upset. A 16-year-old boy letting 5 goals in. And I was upset after the game. I got a scout that came up to me and says, "Roy, do you fancy going for a trial in England?" And I just thought, like anybody else would have thought, is this a joke? But I said, why? I've let 5 goals in. And I've said to many, many young keepers, it's the attitude. It's the attitude in the game. I've let 5 goals in, but he's seen my attitude, the way I performed. Even when I was letting goals in, I kept my head up, kept working hard. And that's the attitude what scouts and managers are looking for. And I always kept that in my head when that scout spoke to me, because you're going to have bad days in the game. You're going to go through bad days in the game. But that was my stepping block for me, was moving to this club in Northern Ireland that travelled around the country. And I got one day, I had an opportunity to play in Belfast, where all the scouts normally go in the big city in Northern Ireland. Probably not too many people in America know Belfast, but it's where all the young talents, young players coming out of Northern Ireland goes across the water. And I was 16 at the time. Went over to Hull City. Back in the day, it was league. It was one of the lowest leagues in the English league. And my first day of training, I broke my finger after the first hour. So I thought that was my career finished. Came home after a week. I was still there. I stayed for a week. Came home after a week, and about a month later, I got a phone call saying, "We've seen enough in that first hour. We want you to sign you for a two-year scholarship." At the time, it was a YTS in England at the time.
How old were you again at that point, Roy?
When I moved to England, I just turned 17.
17, okay.
So that was really difficult, Chris. That was really difficult, because I lived in a small village with about maybe 100 people lived in it, one shop, and we were all very friendly, very close people. And moving to a city in England with millions of people in it, it was a bit scary, but it took me a while to get used to it. It took me about a couple of months, 3 months to get used to it. I was badly homesick. I was hoping to get home for Christmas, and the good thing about it, I was in the first team squad by Christmas, so that gave me another lift. So it was nice. Things went really quick for me, Chris, in my career, and I don't know how far you want me to go forward, but I think I played nearly 50 games in English football before I was 19 years old.
And back then, they owned your rights as soon as you signed, right? So at 17, they technically own you, right? Whereas now they don't. That changes at 18, right?
Yeah, as a YTS, you normally get a 2-year contract. So they've got you for 2 years, but they can let you go. They can say, "Oh, you're not good enough. You can go after 1 year." But I was quite lucky. I signed a professional contract after 4 months. So I was only there for 4 months, and I ended up signing a professional contract after 4 months, which was my dream, everybody's dream in Northern Ireland, want to be a professional footballer. And that's all I wanted to do when I was 14, 15 years old. And I could go back to my teacher in school who said, "What do you want to do when you leave school?" And I said, "I want to be a professional footballer." And he said, "Roy, that's very difficult to do, especially where we lived in Northern Ireland. It was very hard. Not many people come out of my part of the world to go across the water and be a professional footballer."
Yep. And I think we always hear that you can do anything you want. Well, okay, not technically. However, you put a goal to it, and meeting you and knowing your work rate, obviously you're a tall guy. That kind of helps a little bit. You got a great wingspan, reasonably athletic. But no, you had a lot of the parts, but it was more likely it's the mental attitude. It was your mental attitude of competition and competing. It sounds like, I mean, giving up 5-1, just like you said, we're watching obviously a slightly different level. You're watching how your keeper responds to giving up a goal and think about how you can help them deal with it. But you got plugged for 5 goals, and they still saw the spark that you're still competing and we're still in it. Probably not derogatory to your players, probably still building, still fighting. And that's obviously that makes a huge difference, and something that most keepers, I'm going to say most keepers are missing in the United States and maybe globally, is that battle of fighting the next one, not fighting the one that already happened, moving on. So I think that's great. And then right from Hall, you had a slight leap, right?
Yeah. Let's go back a little bit, Chris.
Yeah.
You said a few things that I want to say to the kids, especially the young kids, because I never became a goalkeeper. I was in and out of goals until I was 14. Then I started growing quite quickly. I was so small, Chris, until I was 14 years old. I was a striker. I was playing as a striker.
Every forward thinks they're a goalie. Every goalie thinks they're a forward. I get it. Yeah.
So I'm saying to the kids that you're going to have a time in your life when you're going to shoot up, or so it's all about getting technique. And sometimes I look back in my career and say, I wish I had coaching at that certain age, because it might have helped even further ahead as well. But when you look back and you're saying to kids you have to be 6'7", 6'2", 6'3", kids at 11 years old who might be small, Chris. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It takes time. So I always say, believe in yourself. If you get the technique at a certain age, until you're a certain age, and then you can work on other things. And we go on to the next one. When I moved to Wigan, was another big step up for me as well, because we moved up to another league. So it was the standard was getting better. The football was getting even better. I remember playing Man City when Man City was in League Two at the time. They had 30,000 people. That was a lot of fans I ever played in front of, and it was one of those situations. The club at Hull City had to sell all the players because they were struggling for finance, so they put everybody up for sale, and the opportunity to sell me and got money for the club, and they kept the club afloat. And Hull City went on and done well. They played in the Premier League. So that's what happens with footballers. No matter how good you are at the club, things happen at the club. You might have to move on. So moved on from there to go to Wigan with a new manager, new coaches. And I didn't have a goalkeeping coach at this stage at Wigan. We might have had a goalkeeping coach coming in once or twice a month, which wasn't great for a 19-year-old keeper.
And that was late 80s at that point?
Oh, I'm not. I come here, you. It's
early
late
90s.
Late
early
90s.
Sorry, early 90s.
Come on.
I know I've got grey hairs here, but Tom, speak to him, please. Speak to him.
Roy, just picking up on that, Roy. That's quite interesting, because we've got quite a number of, as Tom said, from 8-year-old upwards here.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of people on the call that you could argue are getting goalkeeping coaching at an age 6, 7, 8 years before you even went in goal, and even at 19 you didn't have a goalkeeping coach. So I guess there's a strong argument if there's a lot of keepers on the call at the moment at a young age, potentially they have a massive advantage in terms of getting coaching skills now that you as a professional player, and we'll learn about where you ended up, you didn't have that maybe until you even in your 20s, which is quite phenomenal, really, the opportunity that is being given to let's say some of the youngsters these days. It's a different world, isn't it?
Goalkeeping's completely changed now. Even in Northern Ireland, a small country, we have a lot of goalkeeping coaches around the country, but it's changed for young keepers, and take advantage of it, because there's a lot of good coaches out there who can help you, like Tom, who I've met in Baltimore. The energy he has, and that's what coaches need to give these kids, energy, because we're not just giving keepers just technique, it's giving them energy for life ahead. Because some days you walk in for training, you can't be bothered. How do you lift yourself? The coach does it. So the coach gives you energy, and that's how I work through my career. By sometimes you might have a bad defeat during the weekend, and you come in on a Monday morning, and then the coach gives you a lift up and gives you a pat on the back and lifts you and gives you the energy for training, because it's the energy goes through the coaches that goes to the players. But if I was 8 years old again, I was getting goalkeeping training, I don't know what will happen, but I've enjoyed my life, Paul. I've played in the highest level. I don't like looking back too much, but I do have a lot of memories of good and bad as a goalkeeper, and that's what you learn as a goalkeeper, because everything's not good as a goalkeeper, because if we make a mistake, it's a goal.
Yeah, and that's a good segue to a massive club you moved to, and you do still you've had a decent career. You do have a few records that still stand, which one of which is, I believe, was it 3 different domestic trophies as a player? Does that one still stand, or Ronaldo might have tied you on that one now?
I don't know. I know Northern Ireland. I'm unique player in Northern Ireland. That's one in Greece and England and in Northern Ireland. So it's nice. It's nice to win trophies, Chris. Trust me, I love it. You never.
I buy them, so I just go get one. It's easier, but so that's one of them, and that was your next move from Wigan, right? And tell us about that transition.
Oh, that was a great story. That was. I was supposed to move to Leicester. Peter Taylor was the manager at the time, and I went down to Leicester. They just got promoted to the Premier League. Shook hands, went round, shook hands. Everything was agreed. Contract was agreed, and got a phone call Sunday night by Peter Taylor, the Leicester manager, saying, "Roy, I apologise. I had really thought about the decision. You're a good lad. You're a good keeper, but we need experience." Because I think I was only 23 at the time, and we needed experience. And he said that they're going to go for Ian Walker. I don't know if anybody knows Ian Walker. Used to be at Tottenham at the time. Spurs goalkeeper, England goalkeeper. So I that was okay, understood. I was very upset, but that's I learned in football you do get upset, bad decisions and things move on. But then my agent rang me. And he said, "Roy, I had Alex Ferguson on the phone." So I just put the phone down on him. I didn't believe him. I put the phone down on him, and then he phoned me straight back and says, "Roy, he wants to speak to you tomorrow." So I said, "Okay, I'll go down and see if I don't know if he's joking or what." So I went down to Carrington, sat for 2 hours speaking to Sir Alex. I'm sitting there thinking, what am I doing here? Because as a player, you've been playing in the lower leagues in England, and then you miss out in the Championship, and you go straight to the Premier League, and you're thinking to yourself, what's going on here? But I really thought about it. I was 23, but I did think about it, Chris, because I had no proper goalkeeping training. Went to Manchester United, had full-time goalkeeping training. I had Fabian Barthez. I had Tony Colton, the goalkeeping coach at the time. And then you have the likes of top-class players you're training with every day. So if I wasn't going to learn there, I'm never going to learn. And I learned a lot in them 4 days. But when Sir Alex spoke to me, I think we spoke about an hour and a half about my family life and things outside football, and the last half an hour was about Manchester United, what he wanted from me and what he wants me to do, and come in and learn behind Fabian Barthez and take your chance when it comes along. And I was quite fortunate enough to make my debut in my 4th game of the season against Aston Villa, and I just found out, I forgot all about it, the goalkeeper I played against was Peter Schmeichel. So my 4th game for Manchester United, I played against the legend goalkeeper of Manchester United, Peter Schmeichel. It was amazing.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Yeah.
So we drew 1-1. I let a goal in.
Well, it's your fault, clearly, because you're the goalkeeper. It's on you, man. You should have scored one too.
Else.
Yeah.
You blame the centre halves.
Now, without getting too deep dive into it, I think Tom's going to bring up, and maybe you'll think of some for later, but there seem to be a few other talented players at Manchester United at that same time. So maybe we'll get some scenarios, but one, which I'd always heard of as a great guy anyways from everyone I've talked to that knows him and has dealt with him on my from Adidas when I was working with Adidas group. Beckham used to just sit around stick around after practice and hit balls at you. And that's just kind of the work ethic of that level, correct?
Oh, so when I moved I was in the 6 years in England in the lower leagues, and I'd never seen once a player stand behind to do extra training until I moved to Manchester United. You had Gary Neville, who played right back, who was running down the line by himself, putting the ball in the box, doing that every other day in training.
And that comes from where? Is that Sir Alex Ferguson yelling at people to go out there and do extra stuff, or where does that come from?
I just think it's down to the player. I think it's down to the player. But even Roy Keane never came through the ranks at Manchester United. He came through from Southern Ireland, and then he came across to Nottingham Forest. But he had that hunger. He wanted to succeed, and he wanted to win trophies.
Yeah, and do you think that's why Sir Alex Ferguson is more interested in talking to you about you than soccer?
I think so.
That's how he found people like that?
I think so. I think he was the type of manager back in them days who wanted players to be settled with families and just concentrate on the football side of the game. And I think that's why we spoke a lot more about my lifestyle and my family and what I wanted in the career of football as well. And he's seen it in me, because I tell you another story, Chris. I didn't even look at my contract. I just signed it. I didn't even know how much I was getting paid. I just signed it.
This is why you get business managers, people, when you hit it big. Just saying.
No.
But all kidding aside, the reason which I've heard the story, and the reason you did it was phenomenal, and it worked out for you. What was the reason again?
The reason get coaching, learn, keep learning. I'm 42 now, Chris, and I'm still learning the game.
Yeah,
you never stop learning, how old you are. And as Paul said earlier on, you have 8-year-olds thinking, 9-year-olds thinking. Don't think it will come. You will learn on the way in your career, because every day is a learning curve, and that's what as a goalkeeper, any sport, you learn every day what you do. I think if you do something bad in training, you've got another opportunity the next day to work on it, and that's what training's all about. You work on your technique, good techniques. You keep working on your good techniques, but you even work harder with your bad techniques, because that's what training's all about. And that's the thing. When I got my full-time training when I was 23 years old, I was training full-time, but not goalkeeping training, and I learned a lot. You had a guy from France who's won everything in the game, Fabien Barthez, and even then, back then, he even said, "Roy, we are footballers now, because that's the way football was turning out to be." And 15 years later, everybody's looking for agility players. You can play with the feet. Goalkeepers play out from the back, make sure they can kick a ball 30, 40 yards in the right place, straight to the player's feet. And for me, it's good to have that. But for me, keep that ball out of the back of the net as well. That's the main thing.
I think and again, we've talked about this before, but you've said, and picking up what you just said about Gary Neville staying behind in training, and Roy Keane staying behind in training, and David Beckham saying, "Come on, stay behind. I want to take free kicks at you for an hour," and so on and so forth. I think the key thing, and I talk about this with my kids actually, but in sport, there's no shortcuts. There's no immediate. There's this thing that doesn't happen overnight, and you read a lot about Ronaldo and the work ethic that he has. And I know you say that when you had time at Man United with Ronaldo, and it's a big shift, it's a big work. So again, I think the point is keep working, keep trying, keep doing as much as you can. And again, great. The earlier you start, the more opportunities you have to put those hours behind you to learn what you need to learn, and who knows what level you then get to.
Well, Paul, that's right, Paul. Because when Ronaldo came to Manchester United, he couldn't speak the word of English, and after 3 or 4 months, he was speaking English, because he was so dedicated to prove that he wanted to be at the highest level. And that guy, I spoke to you about it. That guy was unbelievable training. Every day he was in the gym, working on his feet. And then when David Beckham left, I had to go in for free kicks against Ronaldo, so that was difficult. So I should have been good at making saves and free kicks.
Tell them how I can't remember the whole thing, but not the discovery of Ronaldo, but you guys went and played him, and then your guys' response, and then what Sir Alex did.
Right. We were in America for pre-season. We had I think we must have played about 4 games that year in America, all over America. And her last stop was in Portugal against Sporting Lisbon. And I remember clearly, John O'Shea was playing right back, and Ronaldo was playing left wing at this stage, I think it was, yeah. And he's just unbelievable player at that age. He was skinny. He was just direct running at the left at the right back. And we came in we came in after the game, and the senior players was just saying that guy's unbelievable at that age. How quick he was, how quick his feet was, and they were just talking to the manager saying we need him, we need to sign him. And in I think it was about 4 or 5 weeks later, he was at Manchester United. And see what he does, Chris, as well. By the way, a lot of people see him what he's done in his life, but what he does on the training ground, he does on the pitch as well at the same time. Because you have a lot of good players who can do it on the training ground, but then it's the big stage when you have to play on a Saturday or whenever you're playing a match day. Can you make that to another level? And everything what Cristiano Ronaldo did, he could do it on the pitch as well, because he had that confidence in himself. He believed in himself.
Yeah, if kids if you want to see something about Ronaldo's training, his fitness levels, if you search, with your parents' permission, of course, YouTube, Cristiano Ronaldo testing, they did some testing on him that was absolutely mind-boggling. Like, they crossed a ball, then turned the lights off so it's pitch black, and he still finished it in the net. One on his shoulder, and one I think it might have been a diving header. But it's and his work ethic that they talk about in there, and all that stuff to the next level. So, but that
Chris,
was pretty cool.
Can I ask something real quick about Roy's first trip to Manchester United on the team?
Perfect.
So I gotta say, I've been listening to a bunch of podcasts and interviews you've done, because I kind of wanted to dig in a little bit and see kind of your progression. And I gotta say, there was a podcast you were on recently where I think it was back in May, and you said that you didn't feel like you were ready to go to Manchester United because technically you said you weren't ready. Is there a way you could speak to a little bit about to the kids that you felt like you weren't ready, but you still did it and you still put the effort in, and you knew you'd be successful because you believed in yourself? I think a lot of players could relate to not feeling ready for something, but then going through it with it anyway, putting the work in, and then having that success like you did. I was wondering if you could speak to that just a little bit.
Yeah, Tom, that's right. Because when you're looking back, and I look back at my career now, and you're thinking, at the time I was in the lowest leagues I was playing at, and then taking the big leap up to the Premier League. Not just a Premier League team, it was the biggest team in the world, especially after winning the treble in '99. And you're going in, and people want another Peter Schmeichel. So I started thinking a little bit of too much. What if I do this? If I do that? So I end up just cleaning my head and saying, right, I'm going there to learn. I was strong enough to go in. I spoke to the players. The players were down to earth. They were so great. They were so unbelievable when I first went in the first training session. But I just went in, spoke to Tony Colton, the goalkeeping coach, and I just spoke to him for about 20 minutes and said, Tony, I haven't hardly done technique, and I don't want to be shorting up on myself. And he says, Roy, don't worry, we will work on you. We haven't brought you in the Manchester United to just sit on the bench. We're preparing you for the future, you know what I mean, as well.
Yeah,
sure. So it's the belief in your coach. If you have a coach who pushing you, and I was willing to let the coach push me as far as I can, because that's what you want to do in life. You want to, like, I never thought I'd be a professional footballer, because nobody else from my part of the world where I was living came out of Northern Ireland. They played in the Irish League, part-time football, but never from over to England and Scotland. Yes, people from Belfast did, but not me in Fermanagh. It's middle of nowhere, trust me. And once I made that leap, I said, how far can I go now? And I could never tell you, Tom, when I was 15 years old, I'd be a Premier League medal, you know what I mean, in my cupboard. I would never thought I would be a Premier League medal winner. But that's life. You dream of these, that you dream. My dream came through, and that's the thing. And I was having a little bit of doubts, but then I cleared my head and said, right, I'm going for this, because you only have one chance in life. Sometimes you might have to have a second chance in life if you have good people around you. But for me, if I never made that leap, I don't know where I would have been. You know what I mean? Yeah, and that's football.
That's great. Do you feel like it was just as much mental as physical, or was it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's more your mindset. Your mind starts saying things. The mind starts doubting you, telling you that. So I just cleared my head and just got over that and just moved on. But you're talking about physical. My first year at Manchester United, see, after the season was over, Tom, trust me, I slept for 2 months because that was unbelievable. See, every training session, every game, it was 100% high intensity, very, very high intensity. The training was so quick. We were in nearly 7 days a week because sometimes we were playing two games a week. I think my first year at Manchester United, I probably only had 3 or 4 weeks off during the season.
Wow.
And mentally, you're just completely tired. And I think we had about normally a month and a half. I think I must have slept for 4 weeks. It was crazy. It was mad, but it's true. And then you get used to that as well. You get used to the environments of training with the quality players because the balls are faster. The players are moving quicker. So every level you move up to, from youth football to college football in America, and then you go to pro football, it's big steps up every time you move up.
Sure, that's great. Chris, I'm not sure if you want to run through everything he's done, or you want me to layer in some. I mean, I'm sure the players want
That's great. Yeah.
want to hear some of this stuff.
Absolutely.
Just when I heard that you had been looked at by Sir Alex Ferguson for 2 years before he invited you into the team is amazing to me, because I think players can relate to working hard, but then maybe not really realizing who's looking, who's watching them. Could you speak a little bit, just a little bit about maybe your thoughts on how they might have been scouting you, recruiting you?
I know rightly because before I joined Manchester United, Sir Alex told me that because what it was when I was at Wigan, we moved into a new stadium, and Manchester United opened it for us because Wigan and Manchester was only about 40 minutes up the road, so they opened the stadium. I played the first 45 minutes against Manchester United, and he said, "Roy, we've been watching you since that first half," and that was 2 years ago. And I was a bit of a shock, like, you know what I mean, because but that's how Sir Alex and Manchester United used to do it. I don't know what it's like now because I haven't been back at Manchester United for a long time, but in them days, they watch players, they want to see what the players' attitude's like, how they get through the season, and if they are strong enough, mentally strong to be at Manchester United. And Sir Alex seen something in me. He's seen something. Tommy, before I left Manchester United, he offered me another 4-year contract. So that was another story. So we can talk about that later on if you want. But for me, it was a pleasure to have a man like that there telling me, "Roy, we've been watching for 2 years."
Yeah, that's great. Chris, I can keep firing off questions. I'm happy to.
Just if there's anything segue that's normal. The other thing I want to touch on, and I think you met your wife when you were at Hull, or is it at Wigan? I forget.
At Hull.
And I always find this, entertaining, but also it makes a lot of sense. What'd you tell her your profession was?
I was in the army.
Yeah. And she's one of the only people in Hull that didn't watch football, apparently, right?
No, yeah, I'll tell you a story, Chris, right? When you become a professional footballer in England, you're just like, you don't want a lady to turn around and say, "Oh, I'm a professional footballer." I'm not like that. I'm down to earth. I don't want people to know who I am and stuff like that there. Yep. I just say, "My name's Ray Carroll," or all that kind of, boys are laughing at me. But for me, my wife now, she came up to me and says, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm in the army." She says, "Oh, what are you doing?" I said, "This and that." And then went to her house, and her brother was a big Hull City fan. And him and her went in the kitchen, and I overheard them saying, he was saying, he's the Roy Carroll. He's a #1 goalkeeper, Hull City. And then we got married about 4 years later. And she's still with me, which is brilliant. It's been a long time, mate, and she's doing well, by the Chris. She's doing really well. She's loving Northern Ireland. People over here are so relaxed, so nice people over here.
Well, yeah, based on some of the pictures of your views and stuff you have over there, it's amazing. It looks like a great relaxing place. Which I think it speaks to him too. When Paul is lucky enough to know people in high places, and we're sitting at special seats at an NBA game, and Roy's looking eagerly around and goes, "Do you think there's anyone famous here?" And I said, he's looking around like, "Well, you." Which, to be fair,
I always wanted to go and watch the base, but I used to play basketball when I was at school, and I loved it. It's really good, by the way, young keepers. Keepers out there. Basketball is unbelievable to be. Tim Howard at Manchester United, when he came over, I was talking to him quite a lot. Really, really nice guy. And he was a big basketball player as well. He was telling me when he was at college, and he loved it. And I realised how good he was, because the spring he had was unbelievable. He's just good in training sessions, coming out for crosses. Because I said, how come you're so good in crosses? And he said, because I used to play basketball, his quick feet and everything. So all that kind of technique. I played rugby over here. I don't know if many people know in America, but I played rugby. I played cricket. So I did a lot of sports with my hands, and move my feet very quickly. So different sports you can get into as well.
Yeah. I tell you what, I've just remembered. I've got a great video of Mr. Carroll draining, I think.
Oh yeah.
3 or 4 at least baskets in a row. So I'll stick it on the Glove Glue Instagram story tonight.
Nice.
So, look out for Roy.
But Tom, listen to this. Chris said that's too low. I hit 3 or 4 in a row, and Chris says, "Oh, that's not the right size."
Yeah, it's fair to say it wasn't a regulation size.
It was a Nerf ball, and
well, people can view it for themselves and comment accordingly when they see it later. So at the end of the call, I'll post it. I'll post it on Glove Glue Story.
Oh, that's great.
I'm waiting for the answers as well from the kids and the keepers here. It'd be nice to see the comments.
Yeah. So what I thought is there's a few more questions I was going to try to ask, and then at some point I want to turn it over to the players, because I'm getting some questions coming in. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to ask a question. So I'm going to ask a few things just because I think some players on the call, some coaches on the call might be able to benefit from it. I selfishly want to know, like when you're at Manchester United and you're training, you say it's difficult. Can you give me like just a little taste of what a training session, like what's that hard training session that we all, one day a week you're getting after it. What's that like at Manchester United? What's that grueling hour to hour 15-minute, you and the goalkeeper coach? How tough is that?
Tom, what it was, back in them days, you see, the manager would have said go, the coach would have said go and take the keepers for 45 minutes. And then after 25 minutes, we are in with the players. So we used to go out 20 minutes, 30 minutes before training, before everybody else. And we would have done a good 30 minutes before they came out. And then we might have another 20 minutes, or the coach may say, we don't need you today. So we do an hour and a half, but not, the drills are really, really hard. Okay. Then we have a good break in between. It's very hard in that level to coach somebody like me who never had technique. So Tony Coton would have probably taken me aside after training as well and do extra work for me. Because you have Fabien Barthez, who's the number 1 keeper, who's played in the highest level for France as well, winning the World Cup and everything. So Tony Coton was a good enough man to take me to one side and do extra training after training as well. So that was very intense, because the English goalkeeping coach in them days, like Tim Flowers, Tim Flowers used to play for Blackburn. His training session was really, really tough. It was up and down, up and down, up and down, and then get up, make top corner saves and stuff like that there. Okay. And I think you need that this day and age. Once in a while, you need a good blowout to get the fitness for keepers. Sure. And that's the thing for goalkeepers who are growing up. They don't see how much we work in training. We work, like when I was going through the week, you're probably diving, I don't know, 300 or 400 times a week, up and down, getting up and down, and you might have one save in a game. And but the Manchester United training was very, very intense. As I said before, even with me when I was doing technique, it was hard work, because he wants you to get the focus. When you get tired, what happens? You lose your focus. So it makes you concentrate. You have to concentrate even harder when you get tired. And because Manchester United might not have nothing to do until the last 5 minutes and make a save. So that keeps you concentrating during the game. Yeah. And that's what I learned through my career with Manchester United in them 4 years. And I understood why we trained hard as well. But then, so I'm going to go about 10 years later, when I went to Greece, the goalkeeping training was changing a lot then. Okay. It was completely changing a lot. Like it was more building up to the match day. You know what I mean? Okay. What's the other team doing? What's the other team? In my early days, it was just working hard on your technique, working hard. Might have a video the night before and say, right, this is guy doing this free kick, he's doing this crossing drill, this is the way he puts the ball in. But it wasn't like what these coaches doing now all over the world is like preparing keepers for the game on a Saturday. And then the next week it could be a different team, and the next team you play, it could be a team who puts the ball in the box. So we do more crossing drills.
Got it.
In the week.
Was that because of culturally where the keeper coaches were coming from, or you think that was just the progression where we started getting to the next, or because you actually got technical by then? Because I realized you're behind on it.
No, I just think it's the way I think it's all over the world now how it's going, because you've got so much social media, you've got so much things, more coaches all over the world, especially when this coronavirus happened. Everybody was sharing videos what they're all doing, and I think that was brilliant because everybody's learning from each other as coaches. Yeah. And I think it's social media, all the technology now, what you can get. Like I was at Nottingham Forest there before the coronavirus, and I got an app through from Nottingham Forest, and I could watch any goalkeeper in the world. Just put his name in, and you can watch him. It's amazing.
Don't look mine up. So.
I didn't think it went back that far though, Chris. That's
I think you had mentioned one time that your favorite goalkeeping coach you've worked with was in Greece, right? Is that true? I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about why. I mean, obviously there was some energy to it, but in general, maybe the goalkeepers can relate to why you gravitated towards the gentleman in Greece training you versus maybe a different team.
Yeah, I'm going. He probably for me he was one of my best, but I still picked up a lot of stuff from other coaches as well who I've been with. I've got coaches. I've been in Denmark. I've been all over England and Scotland. So I picked up good things from other coaches, but this guy was something different. For some reason, if you Google Olympiacos, we had a training session in Austria, and the training was so hard, but he made it felt so easy. But it was so hard, you know what I mean? Because he was just motivated, and that's where I got my energy from, is from him, because he got me through some sessions, especially when you train in the heat. Like over in America, it's very hot, isn't it? Sure. When I first went to Greece, it was like you're training at night, about 9:30 at night, and it's like 30 degrees heat, and you come from England, and it's like, oh my word, this is completely different. Sometimes your body's not ready for it, but it worked. He worked me so hard, and he was building me up for the game on a Saturday, which I never had that before. Yeah. And that's what stuck in my head a lot. Like, and I do see a lot now. I know a lot of coaches in America. I've done a lot of talking, doing these Zooms in America, and they say the same thing. And we all do it now because you're paying the keepers for the game on the side. But all I would like to say is, like, make sure the number 2 and the number 3 keeper gets a lot of training as well. Okay. Because you don't know how much you make the first team keeper might get injured, Tom. You know what I mean? And then the number 2 is not ready to prepare for the game. Sure. But,
I think you said at one time, you said it's actually harder and there's more pressure on you when you're sitting on the bench behind a Barthez than actually on the field.
I don't think I said pressure. I think it's more nerves. For me, I never put myself under pressure, because I think if you put yourself under too much pressure, you're going to end up just not walking on the pitch. You'll be too scared. So I think it's more nerves. And I don't know if you have butterflies in your stomach before a game. I put them in a good use, because if I don't have that butterflies in my stomach, nerves in my stomach, I'm not ready for the game. I'm not, you know what I mean? I even get nerves. I even get nerves coaching kids. You know what I mean? Because that gets me the energy through my body, and that's just me. I don't know. Everybody's different. That's just me. And even when I'm coaching kids, I just get I'm nervous because I want to do the best for the kids, and that's just the type of person I am. So when I go on the pitch, I'm focused so much on the game. But see, when you sit on the bench, you're not focused as much, and you see what's happening. People say to me, Roy, how did you play in front of 60, 70,000 people at Old Trafford? And I said, tell you the truth, it was more easier playing than it was sitting on the bench.
Wow. I would not.
But everybody's different, Tom. Sure. Everybody's different. There's a young lad over here, I'm not saying names, but he's 24 years old, and he didn't like playing football. He played for England, youth, everything. Great lad, great goalkeeper, but he enjoyed the training. So what happens, I've been speaking to a lot of people about that when I was playing in the day. We worked that hard in training. We couldn't wait to play on a Saturday, you know what I mean? We couldn't wait to play on a Saturday.
Sure.
But this young lad had a good future, and he's 24 years old, and he walked away from the game.
No, he did walk away.
He walked. walked away from the game because he couldn't enjoy playing the game.
Yeah. Well, so we have probably 10 to 15 minutes left, guys. I know we're going on close to an hour now. So what I want to do is, obviously we could talk about Manchester United the entire time, but I think it's almost disrespectful not to mention you playing for your national team. So if there's any way we could maybe talk a little bit about what it's like for you to play at that high level, and then we'll jump into maybe a Q&A with the players.
Yeah, right. I try and go through it quick. I do talk a lot, don't I, Tom? So
No, it's not you. I just make sure the players get a chance.
But it's like everybody's dream. Of course, you want to play for your country. The first thing is that you have to try to play for club football first in a high level. And I got my opportunity. I was in Northern Ireland squad when I was 18 years old, and I thought I was going to get my chance against the Germans in Windsor, in my the home stadium at Northern Ireland. And a goalkeeper. We only had 2 goalkeepers at the time, and the number 1 keeper got injured 2 days before. So I thought, here we go. I'm going to play my debut against the Germans. And they brought another keeper in the next day, so I got kicked in the teeth. But a year later, I made my debut out in Thailand, and I was 19 years old. So I can remember it clearly. It was the best moment in my life after being a professional footballer, because everybody's dream was to play for your country. I loved it, and
Sure.
And especially when you had 45 caps. I got 45 caps. I wish I had more, but things happened outside football that stopped me from getting more game time. And then in 2016, we qualified for a major tournament in France in 2016, the Euros, and I sat on the bench when we lost against Wales when we got knocked out. And I was on the bench, and I just thought I was nearly in tears, because I thought, this is my last chance, and I got my chance to sit in a major tournament. And I was about 38 years old at that time.
Amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Well, guys, I do want to get you guys a chance to ask questions, because, again, this is a conversation for you with Roy, not really about me. So or us. So jump in. Give a little thumbs up. There's a couple people that I wanted to get a chance to ask a question first. Anna, you still want to ask your question? I'm gonna unmute you. So Anna, I'll give you a quick little. She played with our WPSL team. She's from Canada. Played collegiately. Looking to continue playing pro. So she's working towards that goal as of right now. So I thought I'd give her a chance to say a quick hello and ask a question to you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. Well, a lot of my questions I kind of had in mind were already answered. But I did just kind of want to ask a bit about, it's totally relevant to every goalkeeper going through injuries, setbacks, being cut, or, whatever that might look like. I was wondering if you could just talk, a bit about maybe some experience that you might have had that was, meaningful, or, you came out a lot stronger on the other side, or just to kind of, if you could speak on that just a little bit.
Yeah, great question, because we do have a lot of we always get disappointed in our career, especially goalkeepers, because we make mistakes, we might get dropped, and we get fans that have a go at us and all that. But my biggest problem I ever had in my career was an injury, what put me out for nearly 10 months. I think it was 9 months. Growing up as a goalkeeper, all we do is train and play at the weekend and prepare for a game. I lost that for 9 months because I couldn't train. I couldn't do nothing for nearly 9 months until I got back fully fit in 9-10 months. So I went through a bad depression for many, many years. I'm still fighting depression. So the biggest problem as a goalkeeper, I'm trying to tell young kids, is like, we're going to get let down as a goalkeeper. So it's the way you have to be strong to get through that. I had a lot of setbacks, even playing for my country, going to the Euros. I ended up getting a stomach problem. Five games into the tournament, I got dropped. The other keeper comes in, he plays the rest of the 5 games and played the final. So, but I could take that then, because I knew how to handle it. If I was younger, it could have been a different story, because I never went through that experience before. But you will go through experience, but please stay very strong, because you always get ups and downs in the game. And when you do get the ups, enjoy it, because That's the way it is for goalkeepers. You could be a hero one week, and the next week you could be the worst goalkeeper in the world. And it's just the way soccer is and football is over here.
I think you would say, Roy, the support network around you in those circumstances was vital. You know, so you surround yourself. I mean, you had your wife and family. You surround yourself by people that can support you and help you through it, whether it's teammates, family, or whoever it is.
But that's what I said early on. I don't know if anybody picked it up. My wife's still with me because I went through a really, really bad time for nearly 2 or 3 years. And she stood by me. She knew what I was going through. And not many people outside my family or outside football knew what I was going through. But I'm open talking to people now about my problems because I want the people to come to me or speak and say, oh, there's Roy Carroll speaking about his problems. That's the biggest thing in football. Please have good people around you. Even good mates. When you become a famous footballer, you have loads of friends. You have a lot of friends, but your really close friends are the ones who are going to be there when you're at the bottom of the pile. You know what I mean? But then after all that happened, and that's why I had a tear in my eye when I was in the finals in 2016 because I never thought I would have been sitting on a major tournament playing for my country, sitting there in Wales, in France, and you take each day as it comes because that's the biggest thing in football. I got my life back on track. I played until I was 41 years old. Then I got another bad injury, put me out, and then I fell in love with coaching kids, and I love every minute of it.
I have a quick question from someone in the comments that said, "What is your best save you've ever made?"
Best save.
Great question.
The biggest one was I don't think it was the best save, but it was the timing of the save was against Arsenal at Aston Villa in the semi-finals of FA Cup. I saved it in the first half, and we ended up winning the game 1-0. So, but the best one, the other one as well, was probably against a team in Russia, saving the penalty in the last 15 minutes. That was probably my best save because it was nice. Guessed the right way.
Love it. That was from Leon, actually. Sorry, Leon. He wanted to make sure that I told you who asked that question. One more quick question for the comments, and then I'm going to get Mason on to ask a quick question. Where was it? I just had it, and I lost the question. You first started playing soccer. I know you started playing, I think, at 12 years old, but a goalkeeper. But when did you first start playing soccer?
When I first started playing even outfield,
Yeah.
I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years old when I could walk, when I couldn't.
Love it.
I just loved it. It's in my blood. I was very young.
Cool. Mason, can I put you on? I know Mason said he wanted to ask the question. I'm going to unmute you, Mason. Give you a chance to ask a question. Here we go. Wait. Are you unmuted there, Mason?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
All right. Hi, Roy. My question to you is, was there any technique, player, or coaching that you've realized is really important, but coaches don't coach enough?
So did you say technique?
Yeah, technique.
See, the coaches I had, they all had their own way of coaching. So I can't really say what other coaches do, but the coaches I worked under, every single one of them was completely different. But the main thing was the final goal was trying to make you better. And that's what I was saying to Tom before, was every time my best goalkeeping coach probably was Guy in Greece, but I still learned from everybody else as well at the same time. Not every technique was good for me because of the size of me, or it could be other techniques what was brilliant for me because it was right for me, if you know what I mean. Hello?
It's a good question, Mason.
That was a brilliant question. I think I've lost him.
Okay. Will Foley, I know you said before you wanted to ask a question. Are you still ready to ask a question? Let's see if Will can jump on here. If not, I'm gonna put Gabe on. Gabe, where are you? The only problem with having over 65 people is hard to find them quickly. Give me a second, Gabe. I'll get you. Where are you, Gabe? Gabe.
Is it Gabe Perlin?
Yes. Where do you see him?
On my screen, he's between Elijah K and Oliver G. About 4 down, 3
Yeah.
over.
Gabe, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. It's easier to find a big thumb than a word. Yeah, there you go.
There
All
he
right,
is.
unmute. All right, Gabe, the stage is yours.
My question was, what is your favorite memory from playing for Manchester United?
Favorite memory was winning the league at Everton. That was my favorite. Especially when you you won the league. I think it was the weekend before, and the whole week going up to Everton, we got the trophy at Everton. It was brilliant because Everton didn't like Manchester, so it was Liverpool. It was like Liverpool and the Manchester. They don't like each other, supporters. So we were very celebrating on the pitch that day. Brilliant, great experience.
Love it. All right, Will. Will is ready for his question. Will, are you ready? I'm going to unmute you. Unmute. Okay, Will, you're on, buddy.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Roy, for being here. And I have 2 questions.
Oh.
The first one is, how many goals do you think you saved?
Oh.
I can't remember. I'll have to go on Google. Tom, go on Google.
Yeah, let me get it.
I let a lot in. I'm really joking.
Let's do this.
What's the second question?
The second one is how many autographs do you think you gave?
I give autographs nearly every day. So I'm 42 years old. I was a professional. I don't know. Can you guess? Say about 100. Say about 100 a day. Add that up. 24 years of professional footballer.
Presumably it's more selfies these days than autographs, though, Roy, yeah?
Kimmy, I came back from Greece and this girl came up to me and says, "Can I have a selfie?" And I said, "What's that?"
Vivian. Sorry, Roy, go ahead.
Go on ahead, mate.
Vivian, give me a thumbs up so I can find you. Vivian.
He's got like a pink T-shirt and kind of greenish aqua jacket on.
Where?
Chris has got good eyes.
Yeah, she's
Yes,
waving.
you're all over this.
Not waving.
Yeah.
Vivian, give me a
He's got
thumbs
3
up.
screens
I'm having trouble
up.
finding your screen.
Keep waving, Vivian.
Yeah, wave me down.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Wait, where? Oh, yes. Viv, give me a second here. You're on.
Where was your favorite place that you played?
My favourite place I played at Old Trafford was Manchester United. It was really, really brilliant playing there. 70,000 fans. So it was. Do you mind if I say another one as well? That's the favourite, but my best was at Olympiacos as well because the fans really loved me out there in Greece. They always kept singing my name because every time I made a save, they used to just sing. There's only one Roy Carroll, which was brilliant.
And this is a good segue too, real quick, about me talking about who you know and how you treat them. What's your current connection all the way back to Olympiacos right now?
It's just.
Well, they're involved with Nottingham, right?
Yeah, they run the club. They run the club at Nottingham Forest, and that's how I got to Nottingham Forest to do a bit of coaching over there as well. So if you have a good attitude and respect people, things will do well for you. But you need the talent as well. You can't just go over there and not have the talent.
Yeah.
That's why I'm learning to be a goalkeeping coach. I want to learn every day.
Matt Sinacor says you had 99 saves in the Premier League career, by the way. Is that correct, Matt? Yes. Matt, that's what Matt says.
Is one asterisk, though? Is there an asterisk after one?
So Tom, someone said to me I was the best. I don't know if this is true or someone's just winding me up here. Could you check this in Google, Tom? What was it? I was the third best goalkeeper. I think it was first 50 games. I kept 25 clean sheets.
Yeah.
Really? Love that.
That was a thing. Let's see if it's still open.
I think it was one of my mates. I think he was just taking.
You were.
I wanted to give a chance to get one of our college players to ask a question. Let me see if Billy still wants to ask his question. Billy, still on the call? I know he was on for the first bit. Let me double check and see if Billy's still on the call. Billy, you good to go? All right. So real quick. So Billy plays with me. Well, I coach Billy. He's at Roosevelt University in the NAIA collegiately. He's one of our goalkeepers on the team. So he wanted to jump on and ask you a question.
No problem.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Well, first off, thanks, Roy, for coming. I actually this is actually kind of really heartwarming for me because I just made so many connections with you and your story and how you came up, because I come from an under represented city or city over here in a certain area in Chicago, you know, where I don't really get the same amount of exposure and or training. I didn't have a goalkeeper coach until I reached college. And even then, I went to college playing at the Division I level, so the highest level here in the U.S. And then as soon as I got here, I just noticed that everybody was 10 times better than I was, because I've never gotten that legit training or everyday practice. I would just go around to the park and kick the ball around with my friends, and then it was just an amazement. It was amazing for me to even realize that I was getting that much recognition. But then I had gotten injured my first year of college, and then as you said, that's the part that the part that really connected with me, is that I had to suffer through a few years of just depression or me just doubting myself. And that's something that a lot of people don't really talking about nowadays in the game. And it's just really heartwarming knowing that someone at the highest level like yourself can suffer the same thing that somebody across the country and a little small town can suffer as well. And then my question to you is how do you keep yourself just motivated on the day to day? Because I've gone from being the number one to being the backup to being somebody who doesn't so that people don't bat two eyes about. So how do you just keep yourself motivated just day to day to get up and just strive for your dreams?
Yeah. How old are you? How old are you now?
I'm 22. Yeah, 22. I'm
22.
in my last year.
Yeah. It's difficult when you've been playing the number one, then you're coming down the ladder. You know what I mean? But the thing for me, what motivated me is by looking back and say, I don't want to go back where I was. You know what I mean? My life was, I want to try and keep reaching the top. Sometimes you're going to go up and you can come back down again. My motivation was working hard in training, keep working hard with the coaches, speak to the coaches every day or every other day, and let them know what's on your mind. You know what I mean? Because I think coaches I think a lot of coaches are now understanding goalkeepers, what they go through. Back in my day, it was a bit worrying going to a coach and say, Kimmy, I'm a bit down here, can you help me out? But you have people like Tony Colton, who I was at Manchester United after 6 years without a full-time goalkeeping coach, who helped me a lot. And I was still the number two then at the time in Fabian. I played 72 games for Manchester United, moved on, got that injury at West Ham, and I was down for 2 or 3 years, hit me big time. But I got something clicked inside me and said, Roy, something flashed back when I was 15 years old and say, I want to be a professional footballer. And I was losing that, and I end up pushing myself as far as I can again. And I was lucky. I got a bit of luck at the same time, because you need a bit of luck. Because you might have people at your college who thinks, oh, I don't think he's a good keeper. I could have 10 people in the room say 10 different opinions on you. You just need one person to give you a chance. So you keep working and keep your head up, stick your chest out, and go to training every day and work hard. And if there's anything on your mind or anything, go to Tom, speak to Tom. Or Tom can come to me and we can speak. Or if you want to speak to me, I'm always here to help. You know what I mean? Because I'm here to help, because I've been through dark days, and to get me motivated is now that my ambition now is pushing these young kids or young keepers or senior keepers as far as they can. That's my new ambition.
Okay, and then a second question. So after, like, because this is my final season at my university at Roosevelt with Tom, I graduated in December, and I got offered like a opportunity to go on trial for a third division team in Spain, and then it's just like a big step for me because like poor family, like we never really like leave our own like block, like our own like little neighborhood. So like just so I can like, what is your first feeling from going from like Belfast to England? Like, what are like some things you can expect, or like any tips that you might have for me?
When I left, I was 17, and I was like, I'm very shy. Trust me, I'm a shy guy. When I moved to England, I kept myself to myself, like, and I had to change that because I had to start talking to teammates. I had to start talking to people outside football. So the main thing what you need to do is is just get to know your teammates, get to know the people. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Get out of the house. Don't sit in the house. Get out of the house and do things. Because if you sit in the house and just thinking too much, that's the main advice I try and give the people now. Especially when you move different clubs, especially from America to Spain. You know what I mean? It's a long way. But the thing is, if you're going to play football and you're enjoying it, that's what makes you happy. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Sometimes you're not going to play, so what do? Get out and meet new mates and stuff like that. I've got a lot of friends outside football. Everybody says, "Oh, who's your best mates in football?" I haven't got that many in football. I've got good work colleagues. You know what I mean, in the game. But all my friends are outside football because I try and put something else outside football because you need that sometimes as well. Especially when I went through the depression really badly in 2008. I had to go outside football and get other people and have other mates, because if you have football mates, all you're talking about is football. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, true.
Last question from Bouty. Where is Bouty? Give me a little thumbs up. I had you before, and then I lost you. Thank you, Billy. All right, Bouty. Last question from Bouty.
So when you were playing against Spurs,
Yes.
No!
I love it.
when you
Go
were
on ahead.
at the last minute and like one of the Spurs teammates just kicked it, how was your feeling when you saved the goal but the ref said keep going?
Right, Tom, did you make him to say this, Tom?
Absolutely not, but I love it, Bouty.
Great question. Thank you very much. I've been asked this hundreds and hundreds of times. So that is a technique that no one can teach you in coaching, because it was great reactions. That's what I'm going to say, Chris, before you say anything. But it was one of those situations when the ball came up in the air and I took my eye off the ball, and instead of concentrating the whole way until the ball got in, I was concentrating to throw the ball to Gary Neville to the right back. And it was tough times, but I was lucky enough it didn't go over the line. I scooped it before it went over the line.
What did Sir Alex Ferguson say to you in the tunnel? Because I love this. You told me you're hiding.
No, I was walking. I think it was the longest time I ever walked off a football pitch. I think it took me 10 minutes to walk off the pitch because I didn't want to get the hair dryer treatment at the time. And I walked up the tunnel, got into the change rooms, just sat down, put my head between my legs. And Sir Alex turned around and says, "Roy, what happened?" I said, "Boss, I took my eye off the ball." And he says, "Be fair, good reactions." And Tom, have you showed your goalkeepers that video?
I have not shown them that.
Can you please show them and tell them what I'm trying to explain to them? Every shot's hard. No shot's easy. Even the easiest ones are hard as well. So concentrate on every single one of them, because the top corner saves, it's easy enough to save them because it's a reaction. You know what I mean? You go for it. But see the ones when it's just coming in and you hit your chest, hit your hands and over your shoulder, they're the hardest.
Yeah. Thank you, Bouty. Appreciate that. Real quick, I have one more quick question for you, Roy, but I know we've gone over time, so I appreciate you guys sticking on the call. Any advice you have for goalkeepers? Just if you could leave them with one piece of advice, something that they can take away from the call today.
I know, but I do want enjoy. That's all. That's my big advice. Enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, why be a keeper?
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Well, I guess now's a good time to say thank you, Roy. Really appreciate your time. Glove Glue, Paul, Chris, thanks guys so much for connecting with us on this. Anything you'd like to say, Roy, before we let these guys go?
No, just would like to say thanks for having me on, Tom. It was brilliant and great questions by the kids, especially the Spurs one. But Kimmy, I hope you're all back out in the training ground very, very soon, and we get things moving again after this coronavirus.
Actually, I apologize. I meant to, in the interest of time, I skipped it. So, in Roy, in your next chapter, you are coaching now. So you run RC1 goalkeeping, and your intention is to work with youth in your area, in your hometown, I think, of Northern Ireland, correct?
Yeah, I'm coaching all around my country. It's a small country, so I can go around my whole country. I do 4 or 5 sessions a week, so it's RC1 coaching. And I'm hoping to be working with Paul and Chris and come to America and do some camps with Glove Glue, hopefully next summer.
That's great. There were actually there's a few players on this call that were going to attend the camp this summer. So hopefully we'll connect again and we'll get on and we'll get the goalkeepers down to work with Roy. I can honestly say I spent a little bit of time with Roy, Paul, and Chris, and just talking with Roy about goalkeeping is amazing stuff. So it's amazing to be in the same chat room with you. And I appreciate your time and your thoughts on goalkeeping and life. So thanks again. Goalkeepers, thank you for attending. I apologize if we couldn't get to everyone's questions, but shoot me an email. I might be able to email them back and forth, and we can get them we can get you guys some answers. So guys, thanks again for coming. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you on the field soon.